Okay, we're getting ready to take a Conch train tour train.
Simple the Ficus family, you'll find several different varieties of, by far and away, the most haunted house on the island. Now, hang on there, loved ones, because I gotta tell you a little ghost story here. We got a lot of New Englanders on board here. See this other gray house with the purple shutters? Notice the symmetry of the doors and windows. 3 up, 3 down, like the Red Sox. But the porch goes the entire width of the building, both upstairs and down. Classic New England style architecture. Some are up and down, but the porch wraps around the corner. Slight difference, but important. That's how you tell the difference between the New England style and Bohemian style. And these themes will repeat themselves over and over again here. He's Catholic for his 2 daughters, and he didn't want to play favorites, so he built the homes absolutely identical as well. And that one by Joey Herman, Broadway musical composer, famous for Hello, Dolly. And the Monroe County Library to the right, all you nautical types. And you can see that's Perkins and Son, ship cancel. And there's some interesting things in there. Not things really, but little knick-knack. Look at the back of it, it's not quite done. They've been working on it for about 3 years. And still got about half of it to go. No, man. Make rubber out of the sap in the bark. And it's another one of those ficus trees. All guard. But the Navy has always been interested in Key West. With our national deepwater harbor, they've come here on several occasions. They came in the 1820s for the first time and got rid of the pirates, which allowed us to be founded as a city charter back in 1828, becoming only the 2nd city in Florida after St. Augustine. They also came here during the Civil War and during the Spanish-American War. This was Center for Naval Operations. Also during the Missile Crisis, played an important role. And they helped us out with some economic hardships. So as we go by on Perry Court, let's pay a small tribute to the Navy. And if you guys know the words, don't be shy. Feel free to jump in and sing along. And the right is a little bit... As you turn here, you can see on the right.
Richard Funeral Home.
There's a little pink bicycle with a big O in the front. How sturdy these houses are built. Not a huge problem. But with all the wooden houses so close together, fire has always been a major concern. We burned down on several occasions, and it's not pretty. That's why if you look on the rooftops, you'll see the roofs are all tin here now. They did that after the fire of 1886, when the whole town burned down, all the 3 buildings. Came up with the idea to tin all of these roofs. And it's worked, slowing down the spread of fire, leaping from rooftop to rooftop to rooftop. It also prevented some diseases, as it kept the rainwater cleaner, coming off the rooftops into the gutters and cisterns. Let's do a little botanical tour through here as well. There's some purple and red color here on the left-hand side. It's called bougainvillea. Ahead of us to the left is a big old silvery palm tree. It's called Chinese fan palms. To the right, above the mailboxes, very unique Key West bicycle tree. If you look up to the left, there's some coconuts on the corner. On the right-hand corner, there's orchids with a stop sign. And then tucked in by that little corner there, house 1400 on the right, he's got some crocus. Yellow, red, and green leaf plants, from which derive croton oil, which when mixed with chocolate forms that tasty little treat. Excellent. And on the left-hand side, you got some yellow alders. And then some more bougainvillea. Have a closer look at these bougainvillea. Now those are the leaves that are colored. If you look close, there's a little white flower in the middle. They come in all sorts of colors. They're all over the place this time of year. There's other crotons on either side of us, once again, coconuts. And there's an abandoned minivan through the intersection to the left. Above that, is a big old sapodilla tree. And sapodillas have an ingredient in the bark called chicle. It's what they used to make chewing gum out of. The old brand name Chiclets takes their name from there. Some bright hibiscus on the right-hand corner here, big red flowers. And then some almonds on the left-hand corner here. If you look up, they start off green, then they ripen up yellow, red, and eventually brown. See them up there. West African almonds. The papayas and mangoes, bananas, star fruits, breadfruits, almonds, coconuts, whatever. If it grows in the tropics, it grows here. And if it grows here, of course, it's entirely edible. Take a picture if you like. Nice job. And the blue with a sun in the middle and the conch shell in the middle of that. And that is our flag of independence. You guys are no longer in the United States. We are the only 5th world country known to man. We exist primarily as a state of mind. However, we seceded or others failed. Back in 1982, the federal government put up a huge roadblock along Route 1, the only way on or off the island. They were looking for illegal immigrants and drugs coming up through the Keys. but they were tying up traffic as long as 12 to 15 hours. So we asked them, pretty please, would you let up on the roadblock? You're killing our economy. But they said no. So we said, right. If you're going to treat us like a foreign country, we're going to act like one. And on April 23rd, 1982, we raised the flag of the Conch Republic, and we seceded from the Union. We then proceeded to declare war on the United States. We went down to the abandoned Fort Zachary Taylor, and we attacked. We then promptly surrendered, asking for over $2 million in foreign aid. Which we never got. But it was a very well-publicized stunt, and it got them to lift the roadblock. So we celebrate that every year with a huge week-long celebration, drag races, bed races down Duval Street. The Coast Guard comes on out and takes part. They go out in their big cutters, we go out in our schooners, and they throw thousands of tomatoes at each other. It's a lot of fun. And if you look to the left, Key West A's Memorial, hey dude! Very first of its kind in the United States. Where you just stay out that late. And the Atlantic is very calm, you can see. No waves breaking in here. They all break out on the coral reef, which is 5 miles out back. They're not going to shoot the Blue Lagoon 2 here, by any means. It's all man-made, this one. Therefore, it's not really all that bad considering. But if you guys are looking for a real nice beach, Bay of Honda. This beach up north of here, about, well, it's on mile marker 37. That's a state park, voted back in 1992 to be the... He was John D. Rockefeller's business partner. The two of those men formed the Standard Oil Company and made an absolute fortune. And then Flagler's wife became ill. He accompanied her down to Florida, to St. Augustine, where he discovered that there were really no nice hotels there for them to stay. And the transportation system was dismal. So he began building hotels, 7 in total down the east coast of Florida, and bought up and improved the railway line. You can see the portrait of the guy to the left. He's got the gray hair, the mustache, pictured there in front of the hotel. Now, he extended the railway all the way from St. Augustine to Miami back in 1896. And then in 1905, he decided to go all the way down here to Key West. People thought he was crazy. They called it Flagler's folly, but he did it anyway. And he arrived here on January 22nd, 1912. And if you're wondering why he bothered to come down here in the first place, it was all fairly simple economics. We were the largest city in the state of Florida at that time, and we were the richest city per capita in the United States. The wrecking industry, the turtling industry, the sponging industry, the Navy, the tobacco industry,
That's our
Island of
hotel.
Bones. And that would remain our name. Until the English settlers came along and simply mispronounced it and mutated
Where we're staying.
all the way from its original form, Cayo-Hueso, to the present Key West. That Hueso, Key West, that Hueso, Key West. Sounds similar, looks like the westernmost point in the Keys. Close enough. But this is not the westernmost, but it's a beautiful home across the street to the left. And it's old home of a guy named Judge Vining Harris. And this is the end of Duval Street as well. If you guys are going to do a Duval crawl, wind up all the way down here. And there is a little beach too. It's not much of a beach, but you know, take a little swim if you like. But this is no longer the southernmost house. The current one is down the street. Beats it by a full 18 inches. And it's the old home of Thelma Strable, a writer who wrote about our wrecking industry in her novel Reef the Wild Wind, which later became a movie starring John Wayne and Ray Milland. You can see the southernmost house to the left behind the wall, the southernmost fire hydrant, southernmost artist. How you doing?
Right here.
How many times am I going to hear that and keep believing you, man? And if you look on the left, you can see the southernmost Harley Davidsons in the continental United States. There they are. And this is the southernmost Harley guys, for the southernmost Spring Breakers. Take a picture, folks. Have fun. Take a picture of the southernmost Harley guys. Take a picture. Don't show that to my parole officer, man. The southernmost tour guide to Key West. Thank you, my man. Those are the southernmost Harleys. I am. Talk to Dad about that one. All right, man. But if you have your cameras out now, would be a good thing as well. Because when we go by the intersection, get a nice picture of the lighthouse. Get a palm. And he's moving. Fantastic. Now keep those cameras out though, because here's the Hemingway house too. Hey, dude. Now behind the brick wall on the right-hand side, there's the Hemingway house. And Hemingway, his second wife actually purchased this home back in 1931.
Not yet.
And he lived here about 10 years with 2 children,
There's
about
the
15
Hemingway house.
cats or so. About 40 or 50 of those cats still live in the house today. Most of them have 6 toes. And it's the same way with this house in Havana. 6-toed cats running all over the place. It takes about a half an hour or so to take the tour. Then you can wander around the grounds as well. That's my house. My mother came down to visit this past July, or January. She didn't like the room waking her up at 1:30 a.m. on her vacation island, so we got church. Hey! And this is the first church built for the black community on the island, here in the left-hand corner, going up. Beautiful home. You'll see that on the front about books of Key West and whatever. It's a beautiful home architecturally, maybe.
Calvin Klein's house.
And the right couple galleries on Duval Street you might like his work. And this guy on the left, watch out for this guy.
Yep.
This
Well,
is
I don't know if that's where we went, but it looks
nice
like
little
it
local
does.
spot. Headquarters for the Commonwealth Revolution.
Flipped it off.
Every year.
And a double exposure to her house.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lazy way. That's a nice little street here, nice little shops. Have a look at some of the schooners. And see this little white concrete block ahead of us to the right? You wouldn't think anything about it, right? But this is where Jimmy Buffett does his recordings. It's a sound studio.
Okay, Sheila, you hear that? There's Jimmy Buffett's sound studio. We'll have to walk down here and take a picture.
How you doing, gang? Kinda cool. Alright, you guys got a sweet tooth? Noel by Front Duval Street. And on the left-hand side, if you look up at the picture of the man there in the thing, that's an old guy who used to live this and own this store called Kermit. And if you look to the left, this we have our only Madame Tussauds, and the old guy by the name of Kermit used to run this shop. Look out, folks. It's not a minute. Patient break here. Give you guys a chance to stretch out, relax. Well, you got time. These facilities are available for you. And if you want to grab an ice cream, piece of key lime pie, anything like that, you're more than welcome to. And bring it back on board with you.
There's our picture, one of them. That's me and Becca, in case you couldn't tell. And over there is me and Becca and Craig, in case you couldn't tell.
I'll try to point out some little things that you might not otherwise have noticed here along Main Street, because there is a lot of history to the place as well. Down the street to the right, though, just for your own information, that's where they dock the glass bottom boats. And if you want to go out to the reef, but you don't want to go snorkeling for whatever reason, the glass bottom boat's really not a bad option. You can see a lot. They hover right over the reef, and they also narrate and tell you all about what you're looking at.
Becca and Craig.
All the different fish and coral and
I don't know
everything.
what you're seeing.
And the big old bank on the right-hand side, it's always been a bank. Since 1891, it was set up by Cuban cigar workers. And that big old balcony, that was hand-carved by one man. It took him 5 years to accomplish that. Made it out of solid mahogany wood. Yeah. That was the bank that was actually robbed in Hemingway's novel, To Have and Have Not. Main characters robbed that bank and tried to make their way to Havana. Had kind of a tragic ending to the story, but it's a good read. It's got a lot of local references, so, you know, if you're looking for something to read right down here, we'll spoil the ending for you. And the rest of the Bagatelle restaurant to the left, that is where they filmed The Rose Tattoo, the Tennessee Williams play made into a movie. Also written here. Tennessee Williams, longtime resident of Key West. And of course, the landmark on Duval Street, Old Sloppy Joe's Bar. Ahead of us, across the street in the left-hand corner. The original Sloppy Joe's is actually down the street to the right, on Green, called Captain Tony's today. And the original bar moved 1933 to 1937. It moved to its present location over a rent dispute, $1 a week. Until Russell refused to pay, so he packed up everything and moved it on over. It was in the original Sloppy Joe's where Hemingway met his third wife. He wound up running off to Havana with her, and wound where he wrote Old Man of the Sea, his Nobel Prize winner. But he eventually divorced that third wife and found himself a fourth wife, who eventually came back here after his death in 1961.
That seafood restaurant.
She came and went into Sloppy Joe's, actually, the current one, and that's where she found the current manuscript of The Islands of the Screen, which she later had published.
the bowl.
Be careful who you're waving at up there. The rooftop of this place is clearly optional. Oh, the Garden of Eden. I'll go there. Well,
There you go, Craig.
welcome to Hewitt. The bell, the whistle, the dart, old features, sloppy shows, rum runners, all these places are packed in down here. Fat Tuesdays. They'll block off the roads for about at night time.
So that's new.
There's still some
Block off the roads
here.
at night time.
Nice and lots of crafts around. Some good theater as well.
There's
You
the
look
garden
behind the Hard
cafe
Rock,
where we ate.
behind the Key West Women's Club, there's a place called the Red Barn Theater. And they put on a good production. Kelly McGillis' mom actually organizes a lot of the theater in town. And they do good work. Waterfront Playhouse in Mallory Square is also doing a nice show right now. If you look to the right, there's a white building with green trim. That's the oldest building on the island. Built back in 1829. Survived all the fires and hurricanes. And it's a records museum today. It was the old home of a wrecking captain, Captain Francis Watlington. And some nice memorabilia in there, not only to the wrecking industry specifically, but also to life in general in the early 1800s here on the island. And the big old yellow building on the right, back in the 1800s, this was a little schoolhouse. If you look up on the second floor, the old school bell is still up there. Little elementary kids used to come to school here on Duval. And to the left, once again, is this big old church, St. Paul's the Episcopal. And it's difficult to go with the stained glass windows, but they are phenomenal here. Nose in there, you're over there. And the big old pink building on the right-hand side, this is the La Concha Hotel. And if you guys like a little different perspective on the island, they have a rooftop bar and cafe, which you can go to. You don't have to stay in the hotel. Don't be shy. Just go in there, press a little button that says the top. It'll bring you all the way up. Get a good look around the island. You can watch the sunset from up there. And Tennessee Williams also stayed here in La Concha. It was in fact here in La Concha where Tennessee Williams wrote a streetcar named Desire. And you want to get to Margaritaville? You got a Margaritaville. On the right-hand side, just have this little truck with the back window open. There she is. Give me up its place. Grab yourself a margarita, sit down at the pad bar, have a cheeseburger in paradise. Whatever you'd like to do. And to the right, got a big old yellow building. It's San Carlos Institute. Now, that's where it goes like a little bit more history about the Cuban Revolution, Spanish-American War. Many of the speeches from Jose Marti are all, they're original and also, translated for you in English. And the Strand Theater on the left-hand side is today Ripley's, believe it or not, little auditorium. And it was actually Robert Ripley himself who first declared Duval Street to be what it truly is, the longest street in the world, which stretches all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. Believe it? Or not? It's about a mile and a half. And we started at the 100 block. If you went all the way up to the 1600 block, that's where that original Southernmost house is. And we're right now entering the 600 block. Now, it might not be believable at this point. You look at Duval Street today, but in the late 1970s, the Navy pulled out of here. And this town became a ghost town. You could roll a bowling ball down Duval Street, you wouldn't hurt a fly. We depended on them for about 40 years economically. When they left, it was devastating. But they had a little idea. They began selling and buying these buildings here on Duval Street for as little as $1. Putting them in the storefront. Anything useful, basically, that would bring people, tourists to the island. And as you can see, tourism sustained us for the past 20, 25 years, and we're very grateful for it, of course. So the original island here at Key West, the city anyway, ended here, Angela Street. Now there was landmass ahead of us, but it was undeveloped. Everything that we'd be going through right now, this is all the original city. Everything in front of us, it was like mangrove trees and things. And the further up Duval Street you go, you start to get out of that madness and confusion down there with sloppy joes and everything. And you get into more like smaller places. There's some Frick Oven Pizza here to the right of Mango's. A good cocktail, watch the world go by. Little art galleries, shops, local restaurants, meals there, local favorite. Although nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. There's no guitar set anyway. But the Wiling Gallery to the left. Went by that big old Wiling Wall. Alexander's Art Gallery, just on and on, further up you go. Some nice gingerbread trim in the left-hand corner here. If you look up on the second floor, little marlins carved in up there. And that is a little bit too close for comfort. Carry on up Duval Street. Why not? Well, let's take a look.
And the medium.
Full mosaic car to the left as well. There we go. I went down here once on tour. I think there's a nice eyebrow house down here.
And that's the rest to do.
Since we're going to miss that little street there, got a few. How you doing? Check this little beige house out to the right. Go in. Go this way, actually. Back, we're down around the cemetery. This is where I wanted to get to. Just never gone this way. The southernmost point, the soft sand over there. However, the hurricane of 1846 changed all of that. There was a story which came out of it, which was just shocking. It's about a doctor who lived along Duval Street. And Duval Street floods anyway on the hurricane. It runs south and north, kind of downhill. So some high winds, some flooding any time of the year, and you get a good tidal flow going down. How you doing? But with all these bodies floating around, the houses, trees being ripped up and blown around the island, people thought it was the apocalypse. There was a guy who lived on Duval Street who was a doctor, thankfully actually, turns out. And he saw this madness and confusion going on around him, and this gigantic coffin went floating straight by his house. And he saw the absolute terror, the fear in his children's eyes. And without a thought of himself, he rushed on out into the streets, and he started pouring Robitussin and NyQuil all over it. Eventually that did stop the coffin. We're stretching for material here. Behind them. And there's a little Hunt's Lane up here, actually. Yeah. They used to make those clay roofs over their knee, the handcart ones. Sneak in another story. Because we're going to be going by the apartment quickly later, but I'm not gonna, there's like 7 or 8 restaurants along the wharf. And I don't recommend any one in particular, because they're all pretty good. What I recommend is that you walk along the wharf here and have a look at those special boards. What's left of the fleet is up on Stock Island, next key up from here, about 4 miles away. And to the left, there's that white house in the corner with the red shutters. That's the house with the red doors. And in the days of the strippers, that was a bar. But it was not only a bar. It was considered to be the bar. The roughest bar on the Gulf Coast. So, large mansions, what have you. I just so happen to have a little clip. Anyone ever heard that one? Guest house. I believe that, for a couple bucks, I'll let you have a look through. William Curry was Florida's first self-made millionaire. The Curry family line is very prominent here in Key West. He was involved in the wrecking industry as an auctioneer, buying and selling the goods coming off the ships. Dr. Joseph Yates Porter was a yellow fever doctor here, considered to be the leading expert in the United States. And he was born in that house in 1847, died in the very same bed in 1927. And one of his relatives, Jessie Porter, lived here on the left-hand side of what is now the Heritage House Museum. And she was good friends with the poet Robert Frost, who lived behind the house in a small cottage. Look down the little driveway here. There's a small green cottage out back. That's the Frost cottage. Stuff. And the birthplace of Pan American World Airways is here in the left-hand corner. Pan Am flew the first international commercial flight in the United States. They flew from here to Havana back in 1927. That's their first ticket booth. And it's now owned by Kelly McGillis, Top Gun stock. A huge. A little restaurant. She acts as hostess. She's in town, not off working somewhere. But if you look through these big old pillars to the left, as we turn here, those are the presidential gates once again. And if you went through there about a block and a half, that's where you find Truman's little presidency. Total, about 175 days. And it was thought that he came down here to relax and go fishing. That was a lie. He came down here to play poker, smoke cigars with the boys. So the poker table's still there. And Harry the Human, they called him. couldn't fish to save his life. His wife, Bess, she could fish. Harry, useless. How you doing, gang? And to the right, the Audubon House, the tropical garden. John James Audubon, the famous naturalist. It's a beautiful home, nice gardens out back. You see a lot of wedding receptions and things taking place here. But John James Audubon, many of his original works of art are still on display in there. A little historical value. And directly ahead of us is a big old brown tower. That's the Shipwreck Historium. And if you are interested in seeing that, I do have a whole stack of dollar-off coupons. They're on the floor right now, but trust me, I have them. And what they do is they dress up in old-time costumes. They all about the old days of the wrecking industry. And you can climb to the top of that tower, have a nice little lookout. And this is all Mallory Square. Now, you can see it's a little overcast today. But don't be afraid. It doesn't matter. We'll still have a sunset celebration, even if you can't see the sun for 1 single second. It's really not even the point. You do get some beautiful sunsets here, that is true. But the whole idea is to come on out here and celebrate the day, kick off the night. And you got artists and performers that come on out here and help you do that. And they have all sorts of performers. Guys that have cats they've trained to jump through rings of fire, guys that juggle fire, guys that juggle cats on fire. You name it. It's all good. Come on out here and grab yourself a cocktail and ice cream, have a good time. And there's a little Cuban place to the right. They'll have some salsa music going if you want to kick up your heels. Chamber of Commerce, if you have any questions for them. Shipwreck Historium, Sponge Market, Show Warehouse, Conch Fritters, Aquarium, you name it.
That's Mallory Square.
This is Mallory.
Okay, here's Mallory